What is the key to create positive relationships? We interact with so many kinds of people, not let alone our families, the extended people we interact with, our bosses, relatives, neighbors, and of course everyone on all sorts of parts of society. And we want to have good relationships. We don't want to wake up in the morning and know that we have to deal with this person and that person and be on edge. And negative relationships really can color a person's world in a truly negative way. And we want positive relationships. Maybe not everyone's our best friend, but we definitely want not to have grudges with people, not to have negative feelings. And we learn from Parshat Re'eh, as Rabbi Fran explains, what is the key to positive relationships with everyone. And yes, everyone, even those who we find it so difficult to get along with, or who tick us off and to push our buttons, and who we have a hard time really getting along with and creating great relationships. It's really something that's doable with one amazing key. And we learn this from Parshas Re'eh when it says the following: "But this shall you not eat from among those that bring up their cud, or have completely separated split hooves, the camel, the hare, and the hyrax, for they bring up their cud. But their hooves are not split, they are unclean to you. And the pig, for it has a split hoof, but not the cud, it is unclean to you." We learn this from the Parshas Re'eh. And how do we react with other people? By just looking at how the kosher and unkosher animals are mentioned. And it's truly profound how we learn from this insight how to mention a person's positive character traits first, learn from their positive traits, and recognize them for the good before internalizing any negative. Okay, so what did we learn? Aside from strengthening our faith, these verses also teach us a lesson in how to view and relate to other people. The point of the verses listing the animals that have only one kosher sign is to teach us that they are not kosher. That's the whole point. What are we learning about? Non-kosher animals. Which animal should I not eat? And it could have explicitly stated, don't eat these animals because they don't have this. Yet, the verse instead mentioned the positive traits of the unkosher animal. It would seem appropriate then to list the sign that causes them to be non-kosher first. Yet we see that the Torah lists them as the camel, the rabbit, and the hyrax, which chew their cud, but do not have split hooves, and the pig, which has split hooves, but does not chew its cud. So the positive traits of each of these animals is stated first. What's good about them? Yet it's still not kosher. Meaning it's not good because it's not kosher. Yes, it has some good qualities. So if this is so true for animals, how much more true is it for learning about our own lives, navigating our world successfully? Remember, the Torah is not a storybook. It is not a history book. Everything that's written in it is there to teach us on how to live our lives successfully. This is not just to pass our time and learn some kind of period of time in history. No, this is for me and you in our life right now, how to implement these ideas and live more successfully. Why does the Torah list kosher signs of these animals first? If the non-existent signs are the only ones we really need in order to label these animals non-kosher, the Midrash explains that the Torah is trying to teach us that even when something is not kosher, we should find something praiseworthy about it first. Even something as treif or non-kosher as a chazir, a pig, deserves to be to have its positive trait pointed out first. If the Torah does this for non-kosher animals, how much more do we have to learn to have this consideration with regard to people, the people we interact with? These include our bosses, employees, children, students, co-workers, neighbors. They will all have invariably some negative trait, but yet we need to make sure that we look at their positive traits first. It might be our job from time to time to deliver a negative message, but the Midrash is teaching us that even when we have to deliver a negative message to others, to tell them that they are non-kosher in some ways, we should always find a way to point out their positive attributes and qualities first. So one leader I know said, the way I look at other people is always positive first. And this leader was asked, how do you do that when people come to you with so many problems and you listen? And of course, you probably have some kind of an idea of the type of people they're talking about and the situation, the circumstance. Now you may have a different impression of these people, not to judge them negatively, but of course, it does make an impression. And this leader said, I blow up the positive traits. So if the person is very generous, that's how I blow it up. If the person is a soft-spoken person, that's how I magnify the person with that trait. So that is also the advice to relate to your parents. We have parents sometimes who we wish they didn't do certain things that we grew up with, or we live with much better ideals. Maybe we're more religious, and we may feel like, oh, why do I have to be so respectful? Or it's hard to be so respectful with such a parent. Yet we have an obligation to be respectful to our parents, right? We're supposed to respect the parents that raised us. And how do you do that when you see this parent shouldn't have done this and shouldn't have raised me doing that? We have to blow up the traits. So if your parent is very patient or sacrificed a lot or is extremely kind, that is the trait you magnify, and you say, wow, this is the person who personifies this trait, and I admire them so much. It means they're like the Gadol Hador of this generation. One very prestigious Rav said that, please magnify the trait of your parents, especially the parents it's hard for you to respect, hard for you to accept. You take one quality that they have and magnify it as though they are the master of this trait. They're master of kindness. They're the master of patience. And this way it'll be easier for you to respect your parents, respect your caregivers and the people who brought you up. It's so important that we look at the positive first. And if this will help us get along with everyone in our lives, really, it's going to be so important for us to practice this in order to create these nurturing relationships. Because like it or not, we do not live in a vacuum. We don't live by ourselves. We affect each other. And it takes so much more energy to have grudges on other people. It takes us so much more energy to have negative feelings, to make that marble into a basketball, meaning to rethink the negative thoughts and dislike and stay away from and constantly think about this person in a negative way. No, it takes a lot of, it drains the person. It's mentally draining, it's emotionally draining, and the way your attitude is in life, this is the way you will live your life, most likely. Because if a person is not at peace with others, then that means they're not at peace with themselves. If they're easily forgiving, if they're accepting of others, then that means they accept themselves. And if they accept themselves, they have a good relationship with Hashem. So it's really like a trickle-down effect. It's all a circle. Relationship with myself equals a healthy relationship with others, and then I can have a great healthy relationship with God. And this is so important to internalize and to practice. And I'm going to leave you with two practical tips to tell yourself that if it's hard for you to get along with anyone, you could tell yourself that, number one, a wise person learns from everyone, right? We can learn something positive even about a person who has a lot of negative traits. Maybe you could learn that, wow, this person is so stubborn at doing the right thing, so stubborn. So I should have to admire that I should use that stubbornness to do the right thing. So with anyone, you can learn something good. Or if you really have a hard time accepting someone in your life or having a positive relationship, you can say, in order for this person to be in this world, in order for me to be in this world, this person needs to be in this world. And in this way, we'll be more accepting. Remember, we don't live in a vacuum. We affect each other. There's a balance in the world. Hashem creates everything to coexist together. And in this way, we'll be able to have more harmonious relationships. Look at the positive in every person first. This is very easy to say and hard to do. I'm working on this myself. However, together we can definitely become strengthened by becoming more successful and creating more harmonious relationships, positive relationships with those around us. Appreciating the insights of Rabbi Fran on the Parsha, Leah Abramov, Being and Becoming, awakening awareness of your greatness and potential.